trading places, sisterly style. Medusa, patron demon saint of those who have been slut-shamed. And oh my gosh, revelations. That was super dramatic. Anyway, CW's Charmed, Season 1, Episode 15, Review and Breakdown. Hey Twisted people, it's your Twisted Girl next door here, and today I am doing a review and breakdown of CW's Charmed, Season 1, Episode 15. So, if you're new here, this is the way it goes. I give my overall thoughts of the episode, as in my overall thoughts of the episode, the happenings, as in what happened in the episode, and my thoughts on that. Also, I like to do ship talk because I do love talking about relationships, my favorite line of the episode, and finally, predictions. Overall, oh my gosh, whoa, wow. Like, when I was watching this, I honestly wrote down in my notes, I was like, wow, like, what? At that ending. I mean, overall, this episode was quality. I mean, this was a really quality episode. I really enjoyed how they, it was such a relevant episode in terms of the whole thing of slut shaming, the question of not believing women and things of that nature. So it was totally relevant. And I also liked the B plot line of the sisters switching. And overall, I just loved how with this particular episode, you kind of thought, not that it was going to be a standalone episode, because I felt like it definitely was necessary for Macy's kind of understanding of her demonness, but to get that revelation, or what we think is a revelation at the end, was huge. And also, I'm a geek for Greek mythology, or mythology in general, so I really love the play on the Medusa plot line and mythology, and finally getting some justice for Medusa. Medusa and Macy's bond. Okay, so what I want to do with this was the A plot, right? But I don't want to, in this particular section, talk about that very last point of this main plot point. I kind of want to, put that on the side, because we got to talk about that. We got to dissect what the heck that last ending moments of the episode was. But more so, I want to focus on, Macy's journey and her connection to Medusa, and overall Medusa as the big bad of this episode. So the episode started off with Macy still being very much worried about her demon side, and we saw in the last episode, like she told Mel, who was not happy about this, that she was going to go to charity for help. So what this episode started off with was Macy talking to the elders and trying to get help in terms of her demon side, and more so wanting to be cured of her demon side. From there, we get the very cool elder Bori. I mean, I liked Bori. I liked her. And we're going to talk about what happened at the end with that last point I want to make. But yeah, Elder Bori steps up, and so she wants to at least try to figure out what's going on with Macy. So she kind of puts herself on the case. From there, Macy has a vision or a dream. At first, Macy thinks that it's her, that somehow in her dream, she's attacked a man and turned him to stone. And she's very worried about that. But what we eventually find out is that somehow she was able to, because she was in the vortex along with Maggie, that she touched something, and that heightened skill that she got from her mother, we find out later, but it heightened its skill to be able to see through the eyes of another demon, or a demon. And so we find out that was actually Medusa who was doing that, turning people into stone. From there, we dive into the Medusa mythology, the question of, that she was raped by Zeus and then she was punished, which I never got when it came to mythology. But let's be real, Greek mythology was pretty screwed up in terms of what Zeus and some of those other gods were allowed to get away with. So we find out that she was a witch at one time. This is what Charmed puts on this mythology, that she was a witch. Basically, the witches weren't on her side, I guess. I don't know how that happened. They don't really explain too much of the details of that. But yeah, she was turned, and she's basically someone who she seeks revenge when it comes to scorned women. Right on. Fast forward to all heck breaking loose at the Toga frat party that Kappa, whatever that Kappa is, Maggie and Lucy's fraternity sorority. And so Medusa's there. We find out that Daphne basically kind of called on Medusa in her time of need because there was this dude, this bro, who was going around slut-shaming girls and sending pictures of some type of lollipop challenge, and I don't even want to try to think about what the lollipop challenge was. Now, up to that point, Charity had been telling Macy that when they find Medusa, they'll just cut her head off. But up to that point also, Macy was like, wait a minute, Medusa was wrong. She was punished for something she didn't do. Would you do that to me if that was the case, if it got to that? And of course, Charity's kind of being dodgy, like, oh, it won't get to that. Not saying we wouldn't do that, but it won't get to that point, which does not look good. That's not a good look at all. But anyway, so Macy basically decides at the last minute that she doesn't want to cut off Medusa's head, that she wants to see her. Because Macy figures out that everyone who's turned into stone is looking away from Medusa. And so it's a very powerful moment where Macy looks at Medusa and says, I see you, I see your pain, I hear you, I hear your pain. And that basically not vanquishes Medusa, but gives her some sort of peace, and the spell is broken. And we find out from Elder Bori that Macy basically has the same skill that her mother had, which was the evil sight. Now, I wanted to call it the demon whisperer, but that's fine. Let's call it the evil sight. Now, like I said, I just wanted to talk for this particular A-plot up to that point at this juncture because I wanted to dissect this first before we get into that huge revelation that happened. I loved them using this example of Medusa when it came to this plot line overall and connecting this screwed up mythology. I always thought it was screwed up. I love Greek mythology. I love all mythology, all types of mythologies of all types of cultures, because I think they're just so super cool to dive into. And I always felt like the Medusa mythology was screwed up because she was basically punished for something that was not her fault. Now, given in some interpretations of the mythology, it's not so much that she was raped by Zeus, but more so that she had an affair with Zeus. And all throughout a lot of this Greek mythology, when it came to Zeus, is him and Hera were basically always, they were just like a really toxic, bad romance couple. Zeus would cheat on her and Hera would just basically not really care about the women and basically put spells on them and curse them. And Hera was kind of like vengeful. I thought it really worked for not just the whole slut shaming thing, but also connecting to Macy's inner turmoil when it comes to who she is and what it means to have part demon in her. Macy's new power is awesome. Like I said, I love when the sisters find new powers for themselves, and they haven't disappointed. Each episode, there's something new that each of them or one of them is discovering that works so well, and I really like this whole thing of evil sight. Once again, I would like to call it the demon whisperer, but I think evil sight works as well, and I think this really worked for Macy, and I think it connected to what I had been saying for some time now, her questioning whether or not she really wants to be cured of her demon side. Now, if you've been watching my reviews and breakdowns, you know that I've been bringing up the question on whether or not we should really be so black and white when it comes to what it means to be a demon, especially with what they're doing with Parker and his mixed heritage. And now this whole situation with Macy. And I kept bringing up the question of whether or not Macy should want to extract this demon part of her. Is it right that we're interpreting this idea that demons are inherently evil? Why can't they just be different beings? And I know, there's been some pushback on that. Some people are like, no, the demons are basically demons. That's just, that's how this universe goes. But I think what we're getting with the Charmed reboot is that we can expect the unexpected, and we can also expect that they're going to subvert things that we have come to be used to. And I'm thinking, why not that be the case with the demon side? So I was very happy with Macy and Charity's little talk, where Macy was like, maybe I should be rethinking what it means to be connected to demons and what it means to have demon parts inside of me and what that means exactly. And is that necessarily a bad thing? So as soon as that happened, I was like, yes, I was kind of right. Because I said that they may get to a point where Macy decides maybe it's not so bad what I've got going on. So I'm glad that they're going that route because, once again, like I said, it subverts what we're used to, and it's kind of expect the unexpected. And I think it would just open up a world of plot line for Macy and the sisters, by extension, this idea of one of the sisters actually being part demon. The Maggie and Mel switcheroo. You know, I rarely get to say switcheroo in a sentence, so I was very happy with this episode to be able to say switcheroo. So this plot line started off with Mel and Jada being in Ireland, looking for a stone that would help heal Fiona. Fiona, who we find out, is something of the keeper of basically like the origins of magic, which is pretty darn cool and powerful. And so Jada explains to her, thus explaining to us, the audience, what happened to Fiona a bit more. Fiona being Charity's sister. And I think a lot of us, or a lot of you, actually had the thought process that this was Fiona from jump. A lot of you guessed it, so yay for y'all being right. And so yes, it is Fiona. That was confirmed, and that she had been sent to, you know, Hades and whatnot, basically witch hell, for like a long time, because she had a lot of power and she didn't want to fall under the elders. At least that's what Jada told us, or Jada told Mel. Fast forward to Mel getting back from Ireland, realizing she's been gone and out of cell service range. And so her and Maggie have a huge fight about, you know, Maggie's worried about her getting too close to the Sakana, because up to this point, Maggie is very much team elders. And, you know, Mel is not at this point, because she very much trusts Jada and she trusts what's good with the Sakana, which honestly up to this point makes sense from what we've seen. And so they have a huge blowout. Maggie touches Mel, and we find out later, because she too was in the vortex just like Macy was earlier, her powers were heightened and she was able to switch places with Mel. So we have a whole episode of them kind of living in each other's bodies. And through that, things happen, and they, in the end, realize that they were being too hard on each other and not being sensitive to each other's feelings. I thought that this was a solid B plot line. I mean, it was a plot line that, of course, overlapped with the main baddie of the episode being Medusa, and I thought it was fine. I'm not gonna lie, I did think the argument was a little bit contrived, because up to that point, I don't think Maggie had been so hardcore against Jada, and it seemed kind of weird that all of a sudden she's just like, no, she's no good for you. And I also thought it was super hypocritical for Maggie to be so against Jada when she's literally dating a guy that's half demon, which Parker, to his benefit, pointed out to her, right? Now, mind you, Mel was judgmental of Parker in the beginning, but she eventually came to, you know, be okay with it. So the fact that Maggie now has to turn to be able to show Mel what it means to be tolerant, and she's just kind of hardcore, no, Jada's probably evil, we can't trust her. It's like, whoa, really? Where is that coming from? With that said, I did think the switch was pretty funny. I think the actresses did a really great job of playing each other's characters, and it just really shows you how much they fit in the characters that they do play, because even though the actress that plays Mel did such a great job playing Maggie, it was like, no, you are totally who you are meant to play in this TV show. And so that was really interesting and weird and awesome to see at the same time. But like I said, I did feel like this plot line was slightly contrived, although I do understand that they probably did it so that Mel could know about what happened to Jada, get closer to Jada, but not betray her secret. So wouldn't this be a very convenient way that somehow Maggie and Mel switch places so Maggie finds out about Fiona herself without, you know, Mel having to betray Jada, which was convenient, right? That was real convenient. But so far, this plot point once again just kind of drove home the point that maybe the Circana aren't as evil as Charity and them are trying to make them seem. Marisol's killer revealed. First of all, Elder Bori, when she threw that pin right in Macy's head, that was weird. I was like, ooh, man, that felt weird. Charity's face was revealed, and then Charity shows up and basically snaps Elder Bori's neck. Whoa. And then basically, you know, tells Macy, it's okay. Whoa. I wasn't expecting that at all. That was just so, whoa. I'm not even going to say random. I mean, they got us good, didn't they? Because I wasn't expecting that at the end of this episode. I didn't expect at all that Macy's power would connect with her mother's death. And so when Charity was revealed in the mirror, that blew my mind. Now, mind you, part of me was like, well, who else could it have been that would have had an impact on us, short of Harry, right? And there's no way they were going to try to say that it was Harry that did it. So it was kind of like, who else could it be that it would be super, super detrimental for us if it was them, right? So in a way, it was kind of like, well, it would have to be Charity, right? Because there's no other characters that are around minus Lucy, who I love, but there's no way she was the killer. So there was no one else that was around where I think it would have been in storytelling aspect and narrative aspect who would have been so like, whoa, this is going to rock a lot of things if she's the killer. Now, with that said, I do wonder if maybe this is just too obvious, right? Like when Macy saw in Charity's eyes, Charity said, "What have I done?" Now, one would question, why would Charity say that, right? If she was totally in her own powers. Like, no one, you're not going to do something like that and be like, what have I done? Like, no. So is she being controlled? Like we saw when it came to her interaction with Parker's dad, that she's able to become under demon control and forget things, like when they switched the paint cans a few episodes ago, right? And Charity didn't remember that. So one could argue, was she under some type of demon spell when she killed Marisol, and it wasn't really her fault? Because it seems weird that she would say, don't worry about it. But then again, why would she then kill someone else? Which I had a serious problem with. I mean, dang, she done killed Marisol and then she gonna kill Elder Boris. She's killing too many women of color for my taste. I didn't feel that. I was like, what's going on here, Charity? I don't know. So that was like, whoa. But at the same time, I'm just wondering, is that really how it went down? And if it is, what was Charity's motivation? Mel and Jada. So they're growing closer. They're going on, little excursions with each other. Doesn't seem like Jada does any other excursions with anyone else. I kind of noticed. But that's cool. This gives them a chance to talk, to kiss. I think they're very much still a solid ship. I'm kind of hoping that Jada continues to be good. Although up to this point, like I said, with the fake out or potential fake out, when it comes to Charity, that maybe they're building us up to really believe the Circana, only to make it so in the end, there's a big turnaround. Parker and Maggie, they were pretty solid this episode, right? To the point where Maggie and Mel's body even kisses Parker, which was very funny. But I would just like to point out the one thing that stood out to me, which was when Parker tried to kiss Mel, who was in Maggie's body at the time. And then Mel, for her, kudos to Mel for out and out telling Parker, hey, I am not Maggie at this moment, because Maggie didn't do that, right? She totally kissed Jada and went undercover as Mel and wasn't very honest about that. And it was kind of weird that she didn't get reprimanded for that at all or even try to apologize, but I digress. All I'm saying is it was very funny to me when Mel, as Maggie, says, no, I'm Mel. And then Parker just turns around and is just like, oh, is this some type of role playing? And he's totally still into it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm just kind of wondering, if I was Maggie, I'd be like, why are you okay with the idea of me pretending to be my sisters, that you would still find that hot? Now, mind you, I think that was played for laughs, of course. I'm not reading too deep into it. I just thought it was pretty funny that he was still totally down to role play as her, pretending to be her sisters. Harry and Macy. Oh yes, we got some hasty content this episode. I mean, it was more so alluded to here and there, but Harry was definitely so much there for Macy, and Macy was so much, confiding in Harry in this episode. Not overtly, it was very subtle, like when Charity was around, Macy would look at Harry and be like, would you vanquish me, Harry? Like saying that to him. And of course, he had a quick answer, but Charity had a different kind of answer. And I really thought it was interesting that Harry was the one that was bringing her tea and just kind of confiding in her and, trying to comfort her. And I thought that really just shows the bond that they're kind of maybe under the radar trying to grow between these two, that Macy is leaning on Harry and Harry is very much being willing to be there for her. Harry and Charity. So are they together? Because was it not awkward in that vortex? Like, first of all, when Charity and Macy showed up, Harry said Macy's name first. Yeah, I peeped that. He didn't, it was like, oh, Macy, Charity. Like, Okay. I mean, you could say that I'm reading too much into it, but come on. And also, like, he kind of, like, put his hand on her shoulder kind of, like, awkwardly. I don't know. I just was like, if these are two people who are, like, messing around, like, wouldn't you be a little bit more comfortable under her? I mean, I get it. Maybe you wanted to be a secret kind of thing, but I'm pretty sure the sisters know, right? Yeah, it was a little weird. They were kind of awkward. But yeah, they're going to be even more awkward now that we figured that Charity might have been the one that killed Marisol. So there's that. So this ship is probably doomed. I see you. More so, I mean, it wasn't that it was a witty line or anything like that. It just was really poignant. And that scene, oh my gosh, that scene between Macy and Medusa where, I mean, the tears in their eyes, the actresses did such a wonderful job. Shout out to the woman who played Medusa, to the actress. And it just really worked. And I just really appreciated that. And something so simple, something so simply said was so powerful. My prediction is kind of the prediction I've been having for the past couple episodes, and I think this episode solidified that prediction even more, that I think Macy is going to be okay with holding on to her demon side. I think there's going to be some sort of understanding that it's not completely evil, that they can't look at it as black and white, evil, good, and things of that nature, and I think she's going to come to the point where she's going to accept this part of her. Okay, so what did you think of that crazy episode of Charmed, Season 1, Episode 15? Let me know. Do you think Charity is the true killer? Do you think this is the end of Charity and Harry? Because I'm pretty sure that ship is doomed no matter what happens, because no matter what, her hands did do it. And what do you think is going to happen? I'm super excited because I just love the turn that this story is taking. So let me know, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. And also, be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror, dark fantasy, and dark superhero. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.